Hello, beautiful family. How are you guys doing? I just felt called to share a message I'm receiving from our angels and guides today on this very powerful March equinox day, March 21st. And this is one of the peak days of the energy that we're receiving from the galactic center so far this year and so far in the recent history of our planet. As we all know, Earth is raising tremendously in its vibration, and we've come a long way since the fall of humanity, since the fall of Atlantis. And our guides wanted to remind us who we are, why we came here, and what the grand plan is for planet Earth. So that I know my main motivation today was when I heard we made a post on Facebook asking how people are doing, how are the lockdowns doing, because here in Costa Rica we don't experience the same reality as the rest of the world. We're kind of like in a insulated bubble where there's a lot more freedom. And it was heartbreaking, the kind of like news and updates people shared about the lockdowns, how severe they are, how inhumane people are being treated, and how everyone's getting kind of like being cornered to get forced into getting the jabs. So I know there are a lot of light workers out there, they're holding the light, and we're strategically spread out all over the world to hold the light in our specific zones. And this message is for you. This message is for the ones who've been persevering with so much diligence, who've made so many sacrifices to be here. And our family of light, our galactic family, our angels wanted to reach out and send you this transmission of love and send you this transmission to reactivate some of your past life memories to help remind you who you are and why you came here. So as we know that Earth is going through one of the biggest transitions that we've experienced in our recent history. And I wanted to give a kind of like a greater galactic perspective on how we arrived here. How did things get to this current point in our reality? How did things play out so that we arrived in this current situation, in the scenario we're in? Because the history that we've all been told is completely false and bogus. There's a lot more that went on in our recent past, in our ancient past, that got us to this point. And that's what our galactic family wanted to share with you, to help remind you why you came here and why this mission that you're on is so vital to the future of planet Earth. So they want to remind us, first of all, that we're not alone. We're not alone here on these missions. We may feel isolated. We may feel like there's nobody to talk to. And we may feel that our families and friends don't get us, at least the ones who are not awakened. But our galactic family is reminding us, first of all, that you are not alone. They are watching us. They are here with us energetically. They're so close to us that if we knew how close they are to us, we would never feel alone. And they want to remind us that we came here for these missions with immense amount of support. So don't lose hope. Don't lose faith in the fact that you have an army of angels working with you day and night. Our planet is currently surrounded by thousands, if not millions, of ships, and all of these star brothers and sisters, they heard the call of planet Earth. They heard the call of humanity that Earth needed assistance and Earth was in danger. And we're the ground crew. They're the galactic crew who are holding space from around, in their ships around planet Earth. And there's millions of us, okay? So just because the ships are in our atmosphere and they haven't decloaked yet, it just means that it's not time for humanity to see that yet. It's not time, but they also want us to know that that time is coming very close, that time is coming very near. And they want to remind light workers that we are here on assignment. We are all here. You didn't just awaken out of like a random fluke. This was all planned before you even came here. The fact that you're awakened and the fact that you're tuning into this broadcast, to this message, means that you are a member of the family of light, and you need to believe that through and through. You need to remember who you are, even though our memories are taken away from us in the beginning when we incarnate. But we are being reminded of who we are. We are galactic citizens. We are members of the family of light. And we came here from many dimensions. We came here from many faraway planes because Earth was in danger, and we are the volunteers who answered the call for being here. And the fact that we are here right now means that our job is just beginning, right? So they want to remind us that you're here on assignment and your job has not even begun yet. It's just about to begin. Things are going to change drastically over the next couple of months, over the next couple of years. And currently in March, we're kind of at that tipping zone where everything's going to start shifting very quickly. And we'll make a separate video about some of the downloads we've been receiving about how things are going to unfold. But today the message was more about a remembrance of who we are and why we came here. So going back a little bit into Earth history, humanity, the human race or the humanoid race or the Adam-Kadmon race has existed on this planet for millions of years. Some date it back to 100 million years, others date it back to even further, but it doesn't matter. The number doesn't matter. Earth was originally designed to be a heaven. It was supposed to be a jewel. It was supposed to be a place where etheric beings and beings of light can incarnate into physical bodies and experience the pleasures and experience the thrills of being in physicality in a very safe, loving environment. And Earth was designed as a huge project. It was designed by thousands of advanced races and civilizations coming together and putting their minds together, and all donated their DNA and their technologies to create a thriving, beautiful, heavenly planet with blue waters, sandy beaches, lush greenery, forests, waterfalls. I mean, Earth is still a heaven. It's only that the people have become corrupted, so we are disconnected from the heaven reality. But originally, we came here as beings with superpowers. We came here as completely connected beings with our 12th strand of DNA fully connected. And we had immense telepathic abilities, and we were fully connected to Source in the beginning. And I'm talking about the origin of humanity, before even Atlantis, Lemuria, before these civilizations rose up. We were beings of immense power, immense love. We were fully connected to ourselves. We were fully connected to nature. And we just came here to enjoy life. And there was nothing more to it. It was all about the experience. However, there are many mixed energies in this galaxy. And a certain negative faction of extraterrestrials took interest in planet Earth because of the richness of its resources. And some know this race to be the Anunnaki or the reptilians. But again, the terminology doesn't matter. These are the beings that are referenced in the Bible as a God civilization, as very powerful beings that came from heaven. And so these beings came, and again, I'm not going to go into timelines when what happened. That's not important. But in our ancient galactic past, these beings, these reptilian beings, waged a war against the light and took over control of this planet because they wanted to usurp their kind of a lower consciousness. They're not fifth dimensional beings. They're more in service to self rather than service to the collective. And they thrive on separation, they thrive on mischief, they thrive on destruction. And their philosophy is that in order to grow, we must take from others. So that's the only way they know how to expand. So they're kind of like a militarized society they do have advanced weapons and advanced technologies, but they're not very high in consciousness because they're still in duality. They're not allowed to go beyond the fourth dimensional consciousness. So they took over control of planet Earth, and they beat out the light. They beat out the galactic civilizations that were the caretakers of humanity, which included some of the benevolent races that were here were the Pleiadians, the Syrians, the Arcturians, Andromedans. And within each society, there's also variations, but the societies are just listed, the races I just listed are predominantly positive and higher, evolved into higher states of consciousness beyond the fifth dimension. The Arcturians are a ninth dimensional race. Pleiadians vary from all the way from 4D all the way up to 9D. So these are very advanced civilizations, but they were somehow, we don't know how, but they were somehow beat out because they were simply not prepared to wage battle, to wage war. Earth was such a peaceful zone. So these reptilian beings that now took over, they claimed their stake on planet Earth, and they made it their own domain. They took full control over the planet, and they started to modify the human genome. So they took us into a lab and they literally disconnected our 12 strands of DNA so that they could easily enslave and control us. And the current level of human being, the 3D human beings that we are today, well, not all of us are, but the current population of planet Earth is the 2-strand DNA population that they had created. And that's one of the reasons that humanity is so easy to control. Like when people are told to get a jab, they get a jab. When people are told to cover their mouth and wear a mask, they just do it without even thinking, like, why am I doing this? It doesn't make sense. Like, where's the pandemic? All of these things, like, something in our brain is switched off because we're genetically designed to conform, and we accept whatever we're told. We don't fully have our full range of intellect available to us at the moment, but that's quickly changing. So what happened is they enslaved humanity and they used us for many purposes, for their labor, for building their societies. And they also created a superior race of human beings that was infused with their own reptilian DNA. And this was supposed to be the ruling class. So the current royalty, the current elites, the current cabal, members of the cabal, are all members of the reptilian race because they're not fully human. They're genetically superior to humans. They were created as such to control humans. And so they created a ruling class over the slave and working class. And all seem to be working for some time. They created amazing civilizations. The civilization of Atlantis was completely created by the Anunnaki, by the reptilians. So it was not all bad, but it was not all good either. So there were like certain advancements in technology, and in periods of Atlantis, we rose to great heights. It was truly a golden age. There was peace for thousands of years, but in between there were also skirmishes and battles because there were so many mixed energies on planet Earth. So these negative beings started to teach their human counterparts, the elite class that they had created. They started to teach them how to manipulate Earth's energy to gain more power and control. But they were kind of a bit in over their heads in terms of what they were doing because they didn't fully grasp the higher dimensions, the higher dimensional aspect of manipulating energy for negative purposes, because there are certain universal laws that don't allow this, that don't allow planets to be exploited this way. So they misused their technology and their power to manipulate the ley lines of Earth, so that they could use that for their own nefarious purposes to gain more control over planet Earth. And they were trying to build a weapon that would be extremely powerful, and they wanted to use this weapon against other races to further their domain in this galaxy. But what they did not know was that certain higher dimensional laws were in place that would never allow this. So what resulted was a cataclysmic event. This was approximately 25,000 years ago. 20 to 25,000 years ago, a cataclysmic event occurred in the last era of Atlantis, and the entire continent of Atlantis and Lemuria sank at that time. And immediately, because Earth is so connected, Earth is kind of like it's called the null zone, or the 0 point of the entire galaxy. I'm not exactly sure how the mechanics of this works, but our galactic family has told me that on several occasions they've told me that whatever happens on Earth has repercussions in all higher dimensions of this universe. So Earth is like fundamentally connected because all dimensions are connected. So when Earth was being manipulated and it caused this cataclysmic event, the higher dimensions, the benevolent beings, the ascended masters and the angelic beings and the galactics, they made a very quick spur of the moment decision to place Earth in a quarantine zone so that this destruction would not destroy the rest of the galaxy. And it would create an imbalance that would be impossible to fix later on. So Earth, approximately 20,000 years ago, was placed in this quarantine zone, and Atlantis pretty much sank, and the whole vibration of the planet, at that time our planet was still vibrating at fifth dimension consciousness, even though there were some negative influences on the planet. So after the cataclysm, we dropped in vibration, dropped in frequency tremendously. And overnight, it's like we lost all of our abilities, all of our telepathic gifts, whatever powers we had as masters in Atlantis, and we literally went into cave-dwelling species. And so that brings us to our recent history. The whole cataclysmic event caused an ice age. So there was a massive tsunami, there was like a drop in temperature because our whole atmosphere of Earth had become blocked from the sun because of the particles that were spewed out. So everything became dark for a long period of time. I'm told like there was 1,000 years of nuclear winter that existed on Earth, and the few remaining survivors literally had to fend for themselves. They were living in very harsh conditions with little or no food available to us and very little resources. So that happened, and then we slowly started rebuilding society after thousands of years as the plants and vegetation grew back and the balance of Earth was restored. Some of the galactics came back, like the Syrians came back about 6,000 years ago in the time of Egypt. So they started to erect pyramids, they started to bring back the mystery schools to reteach humanity all the knowledge that was lost. And another thing that the Syrians and the Arcturians and the Pleiadians did for humanity is that all of the knowledge that existed at the time of Atlantis was captured in huge crystals, and it was programmed into these giant crystals and buried into various node points within Earth. And today, those node points are being reactivated. Today, March 21st, some of these major node points are being reactivated. So what that's going to do for us is that the knowledge, the ancient knowledge of who we are and all of the technological and spiritual advancements that we had are going to come back to humanity, because these crystals activate and then they connect with all the node points in the Christ consciousness grid that is currently surrounding planet Earth. And the Christ consciousness grid is connected with the human consciousness, so we start to remember who we are, our DNA activates, and a lot of wonderful things begin to happen. So again, going back to the Egypt, going back to the times of Christ, like Jesus Christ also arrived on planet Earth. Many of the prophets who arrived on planet Earth were galactic souls, and they came with a mission to plant a seed in our consciousness so that we would one day have a chance to recover what we lost. And the good news is that now we are, since 1987, since the harmonic convergence, we have passed the tipping point in our consciousness where Earth is now going to ascend. Earth has already ascended and humanity is following. And one more thing that the galactics said is that I asked, is there any chance that the ascension can fail or not take place? And they said, there's no chance. The ascension is guaranteed. However, there is a chance that the ascension can be delayed because there are still negative factions on Earth. There are still negative ETs that are working to control humanity and enslave us. So they said the ascension can be delayed by the tactics that these dark controllers still use. So the current elite and the current Cabal members are all descendants of these Anunnaki who were left on planet Earth after. So in the destruction of Atlantis, all the reptilian races, all the Anunnaki races flew out because obviously they didn't want to be here for the destruction, but they did leave their seeds. So they did leave their seed races who would continue to rule humanity once we started rebuilding our societies. So these are the Cabal members who are still manipulating us, manipulating the masses in a negative way. And so another thing that happened is that because Earth is a free will zone, the galactics could not interfere from outside. So what they did, they came up with a plan that they were going to send their volunteers in masses into planet Earth. And these are all the light workers, these are you and me. We are all the volunteers who started to incarnate back on planet Earth in order to raise the frequency of planet Earth from within. Because there's only so much that can be done from outside. The laws of free will are such that every change that occurs has to occur from within the planet, from the citizens of the planet. They have to will it. They have to want this raise in frequency. So a call was sent out into the entire universe, into all the realms of heaven, all the dimensions, and a call was sent out by planet Earth that planet Earth needs assistance, and we're looking for volunteers. And these volunteers, we all answered the call in millions, if not billions. So we all left our heavenly abodes. We all came here with the intention to assist humanity. And we knew that we're taking a huge risk by doing so, because even if you're a very highly evolved being from a higher dimension, when you incarnate as a soul on a lower plane like Earth, you have to reduce your powers, reduce your light, reduce your frequency to such a weak frequency that you are able to incarnate into a human body with only 2 strands of DNA. So that required us to completely forget who we are. That required us to give up all of our powers and start from scratch without knowing who we are. And the plan was that when light workers started to incarnate into planet Earth, it actually started from the 20s and really started growing from the 40s and 50s. And today it's like the light workers are here in the millions, like there's millions upon millions of us. So the plan was that we would take on the human karma by being in these bodies, and we would slowly start to we would have a lot of assistance, of course. So the galactic family is able to assist us because we are making a soul contract with them before even coming into this plane of existence. So our galactic family assists us by from the atmosphere. They send us pulses, they send us gamma wave light codes that reactivate our DNA, and they activate our galactic memories. So many of us are now, March 21st is one of the most powerful apex points, which will help us remember. And if you don't remember who you are right away, it doesn't matter, because it's not something you remember like, oh, this is who I am. It's more of knowing. It's more of you have to believe it in order to remember. So don't feel like everybody else has these magical powers and magical memories of past life and I don't, because that's not how it works. By feeling left out, you are leaving yourself out. The way I remembered who I am, and I remember that I was a powerful master in Egyptian times, in times of Atlantis, in times of Lemuria, and almost all of us light workers have had such periods of training in these powerful epochs of time in order to fulfill the task that we came here on planet Earth to do at this very moment. So if you have difficulty remembering, just know the golden rule is that you have to believe it first. So it's almost like you have to believe what seems to be like a fictional story. And the more you believe it, the more your DNA starts activating, and then you really remember, right? So it's kind of working backwards. It's not logical. It's intuitive. So our galactic family is now sending us pulses of gamma waves to wake up our DNA, and they're helping us remember who we are, and they want you to remember that all of the incarnations that you've had on planet Earth were meant to prepare you for this very moment. This is a very historical moment in our history. Right now, the way things are playing out, we're reaching a tipping point in this ascension. And when this tipping point or when this apex occurs, energetically it's already past the tipping point, but physicality takes a long time to catch up. And also we have to be aware of the fact that there are still many negative influences. There are still many negative influences on planet Earth that are delaying our ascension. So what's going to take place now is that as we're remembering who we are, we also start to reactivate our DNA, and we also start to activate our powers and our abilities. And the light workers who are currently incarnated on planet Earth are remembering that we are here for this very particular moment, for this time in our history, because once things start to unravel, they're going to unravel very quickly. The next months that are going to play out are immensely important and critical for the future. And this drama has been playing out for a couple of years now, and it's reaching a tipping point. And now what's going to happen is that the dark controllers who still remain in power, they have limited options available. They're just the most they can do is delay the ascension. There's nothing they can do to avoid the ascension. So the ascension of planet Earth is occurring. The only variable that remains is how much difficulty and how much suffering and how much we prolong this suffering. And it all depends on the mass awakening of humanity. So the way the events play out over the next few months, over the coming year or so, are extremely important. And that's because 2021 is the year where everything tips and the matrix starts to unravel. And it's not going to be easy for everyone, to be very honest. It's going to be a very challenging time for humanity, because not for the light workers. The light workers, if you're listening to messages like this, you're already awakened. So you're not going to have such a difficult time. When we say difficult, It's going to be challenging for those who are so ingrained in this matrix that they don't know how to deal with this reality, this whole paradigm of reality breaking down and falling apart. Because what's going to happen over the next year or so is that the economy is going to tank. That's pretty much guaranteed. Our governments are going to pretty much unravel. Our healthcare system is going to unravel. Every part of the system is going to crash. And this is where the light workers come in. We are here to assist with this transition. And this is one of the most important jobs on the planet right now. So if you are listening to this message, know how important you are and how valuable you are and how needed you are to be here. And this is not a call for us to try to become saviors for others, but rather the model that light workers are being, that we came here with is to be the example, lead by example. So be the example, be the change that we wish to see on earth. So this is not a call to send armies of light workers out to protest against these ridiculous restrictions, but rather to go into your own journey and start aligning your life to create heaven on earth. So it's more of a going inwards, and it's more of a going into your own heaven on earth. Because we all came with the blueprints in our DNA. We carry heaven on earth blueprints. And we all have a specific role to play in New Earth. Like no matter what skill set you have, that skill set is going to assist in building New Earth. Like if you're a psychologist, if you're a counselor, you could be counseling people who are suffering from trauma. If you're in the construction industry, or an architect, you could be helping building green cities and green landscapes and green homes for the future. So there's going to be a lot of work to do. So our galactic family is just reminding us that this is just the beginning. This is not the end, although it feels like our world is coming to an end. Things are going to get very exciting. Things are going to get very shaky. So another task of the light workers is to hold the peace, the stability, and the calm during all of this chaos, because we're kind of like crystals. We're the crystals of humanity who have awakened the light within us, and we are able to anchor more of the divine light, more of the galactic light, the higher light of New Earth, of the Christ consciousness. And we are all connected. All of the light workers are strategically spread out into planet Earth in various places, and we all form a grid of energy that's keeping the stability alive on planet Earth. So we're the catalyst for the change of New Earth. So this is hopefully a reminder for who you are, how important you are, and just remember that this is the very moment you've trained for many, many lifetimes. So remember not to fall into the traps of fear, not to fall into the traps of slavery, and always remember why we came here. We came here to anchor love into the consciousness. We came here to remind humanity of who they are and why they are here and how to love each other. We came here to remind humanity how to love each other. So this is no small task, and remember that it's an absolute privilege to be here on planet Earth right now, because the ascension of an entire planet is a very rare celestial event in the universe, and the entire galactic race, the entire galactic family is watching this ascension from the edge of their seats with so much joy and excitement, because from their perspective, the ascension is pretty much already taking place. It's just that from our perspective, because we feel time is so slow, that we feel, oh my God, when is this going to be over? But this is a reminder of how important this time is, how auspicious this time is. Take this time to nurture yourself, to go inwards, to work on your own ascension, to work on creating the life of your dreams, and to assist your neighbors in any way possible. Even the smallest gestures of kindness go a long way in this ascension. So we're here to reunite humanity. So just hope that everybody takes this message and allows it to really soak into their DNA fragments and allows this to reactivate your memories of who you are and why you came here. You are so loved, dear ones. You are so loved. You are not alone. You have an army of angels. You have an army of ascended masters who are here to assist you. And you are so important. You are so needed. And it is such an honor to be on this journey with you. Thank you, and I love you guys.